Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the St. Clair Esports broadcast. I'm your host, Ricky Lafleur, and tonight we got an exciting match coming to you live from the pit here at St. Clair. We have the St. Clair Smash team going up against Fisher Esports Northeast in the NECC first round playoffs. Going to be nothing but action-packed Smash coming towards you today, as I'm going to send it over to our casters to elaborate about what we're going to have coming towards us in this match.
Well, we do have a lot coming for you, as I'm Patrick Smoke Chambers, your commentator, joined by Brendan Commodus Matthews. And it is our NECC Smash playoffs. We have St. Clair, the 7th seed, going up against Fisher Esports Northeast. They are currently ranked as the number 2 seed. And man, I am a little bit scared, but also excited for everyone involved here at St. Clair Smash. Wouldn't you agree here?
Well, absolutely here, right? Because, it's the playoffs is the time that matters. Season's over. However the season ended, however it began, doesn't matter. This is where it matters. This is where all the time, the grind, this is what it all leads up to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, throughout the season, as we have followed the Smash team, there are definitely things that they can work on. I know that their lineup usually consists of some highs and lows from here and there, shown throughout the weeks. I know that, for example, one player on our team, Moth Eyes, has been a little more exciting to watch as well, and some of our openers as well are just, getting into the swing of things. We usually open very fast with North Dream, who's been putting on a decent showing throughout the season. Cool Skeleton as well is doing very good, very notable. PF Pickle's not really getting a whole lot of time, but at the same time, you know what? If you didn't start earlier in the season, there's probably no reason that Neon, the head coach, is going to look to start you at this point, because it is playoffs, and this is where really the big-time decisions need to be made. Shout out to No Skill as well, who's also on that lineup. These guys are probably very much raring to go and are very excited for what they have in front of them today. Speaking of which, I can reveal the Fisher lineup right now, as DM, Leviathan, Calm, and Vidad are who we think are going to be showcased here tonight against St. Clair Esports.
Absolutely. That's what we have projected. That's what we've seen, at least on the thing. But here we're going to pass it off for an interview to Alex and Ricky.
Mr. Alex, a.k.a. Neon. So, I have a question for you, Neon. What changes when it comes to preparation for playoffs? Are you coming in with the same mentality as you did during the regular season?
Yeah, when it comes to Smash Brothers crews generally, it's hard to really distinguish what you want to do for planning when it comes to crews versus regular season. It's all the same game, it's all the same circumstances, just a little bit more pressure on the line, and that's all right. Obviously, now that we've had enough time to see what these teams are capable of in their own divisions and ourselves, we've had a little bit more of a chance to do a little bit of research, see what the players are up to, see how good they are, maybe some habits that they might have. With Fisher, this is a team we haven't played against, and they were very successful in the earlier season. So we'll probably have a tough match ahead of us, but we're looking to put on a good show and show that we can adapt. And that's the big thing with crew battles, is adaptation and doing as much planning as you possibly can for one of these matches.
Anyways, one more question for you I got is, coming into this game, you mentioned pressure being a spot that you guys try to focus on. What differentiates the pressure between a playoff game and a normal game?
Well, here's the big thing. With our normal games and even any other casual match, it gives us a chance to learn a little bit of some mistakes here, some errors there. And as we move forward, we get to learn and kind of specialize exactly what we can do best. Playoffs is we've spent this entire semester learning and practicing and grinding, and now this is where we put it to the test.
And obviously putting it to the test is what we want to see. We want to see St. Clair come away with a victory, but obviously we want to see competition as well, as the best streams are the most competitive ones. Is there anything we can expect, any surprises maybe coming out from the side of St. Clair that we haven't seen thus far this semester?
Well, I think from comparing to the beginning of the semester, we're far more disciplined, we're far more efficient in the way that we take our stocks, and I think you'll have a good show tonight.
And we're looking forward to a great show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Ricky Lafleur, joined by Alex, and we're going to send it back to the caster's desk just before we get into game here. We're looking forward to a great match here at St. Clair. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Alex Neon, and thank you so much, Ricky Lafleur, for that amazing interview. But Now, as we have a little bit of insight to what the game plan sort of gels and looks like from St. Clair from a broad perspective, I'm going to dive into some specifics that we have on Fisher's lineup, starting with DM. He's an ex-Sinai Village pro. He has 2K in personal winnings. He mains Pikachu and Mithra from what we can tell, and definitely is one to point out because I was talking with Moth Eyes earlier, actually in the week, because I was wondering, we've seen you on the Sora, we've seen you on the Joker. Either way, it's kind of a decent matchup with most people that you find. You're usually able to counter out someone, but in this scenario, it's very odd. I was saying, what can basically counter out that Joker pick that comes from you? And Moth Eyes said, well, you know what? It's a little bit of a hard one, but the reason why Joker is so good is because of the fact that, one, he has a very high skill floor and a very high ceiling, so it means that there's a lot of work to work around you have a lot of substance to work around when you do start maining him, but also doesn't really have a whole lot of counters, and one of the main ones being the Pikachu that almost doesn't really get played a whole lot often, at least that you hear of. In this case, though, Moth Eyes, that is not the case. His DM's, one of his mains is Pikachu, so I think it's going to be very interesting to see how St. Clair try to bounce around that one. I know he's also, DM is ranked 3rd in the Massachusetts rankings for Smash singles, so just hearing that, what are some thoughts about that player in DM from you, Brendan?
DM is definitely going to be a big problem because I think Matthias, honestly, we've seen him. He's taken the most stocks out of all the players we have seen right now, and they got to protect Matthias in a way to where they don't show his hand or what his pick is too early. Because if they show Matthias early, they just throw Pikachu, and then Matthias is in for a bad time, and then puts the team kind of on the back pedal.
Right. Jumping into now who I think second on the roster, who won't be used second, I just have it listed down as that, is Leviathan. Plays for Nightblood Gaming, mains Zero Suit Samus, but also used to play Joker and Sheik. 4K in individual winnings, from what we can see from our extensive research, was the most throughout the entire group here at Fisher. But at the same time, is playing for an active organization with their own page. And I'm not going to lie, if I was Fisher, Leviathan, probably a player that we're going to be seeing towards the end if St. Clair can get over to that 4th and final player. Because judging by what we have here through the rest of our notes, he definitely seems like the safest pick to hold everything down at the end.
Absolutely. Also with the most experience there to be your rock, your finisher. Yeah. He could be put in into scenarios where you might be even your team might be even down a stock, but he'll be able with that experience and land experience to close out those games confidently.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what, I think experience is kind of the name of the game here when we look at playoffs, and that's one of the biggest things that I think Fisher has over St. Clair is that experience. A lot of these players here at St. Clair, minus Neon, it's kind of their first time really playing on a Smash team together, so it's one of those things where, you know what, it's different from when you're just playing against your friends versus when you're actually playing in comp, right? Competitive Smash, you think you're good against playing with your friends, you haven't seen it anything just yet, because when you get into competitive Smash, it reaches a whole nother level. Everyone plays completely differently than what you're used to, and for a lot of these players, yes, they've had a whole season to gel and recognize what those play styles can include and entail, but at the same time, their record in NEC or in NACE is kind of one of those that, I know it's not NECC, but it's one of those that really shows kind of how they've adapted to that playstyle so far. And the answer is not all that amazing as well. So that's something that I think I'm a little worried about, especially when you have someone like Leviathan who's been in the scene for, it seems like, a little while. But moving on to the third player who we have info on is Calm. And we don't have a lot of info on this person as Calm, but we do know that historically it is said that they play Peach, and also that they are ranked 7th in Massachusetts rankings, just 4 spots below DM from what we were able to see. So again, I think based on the fact that you can't get a lot on this player just yet, I would expect probably a newer player in the scene, probably a newer player in Fisher Esports, but at the same time has that 7th place ranking in Massachusetts to definitely know that it's definitely a name in that Massachusetts Smash community, and also someone who, if you don't have a lot of info on, I could see them bringing in early to kind of spice things up and just kind of feel St. Clair out, test the waters a little bit.
Absolutely, because Peach is a very safe pick. Not a lot of bad matchups, and with her playstyle, can be not easily punished, but absolutely can start off strong. If it goes bad, it goes good. But it's a very solid, strong opener. that they could do probably 1 or 2. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we couldn't agree more. But lastly, we have Vidad. This is a player from Spain who's currently playing for Fisher. Main's Rob, which is a little funny. We get to see the robot in action, the ex-ROV gaming player as well. He has 1.7K in personal winnings. And this is very interesting because usually when we hear about the Rob, right, we're thinking, well, what counters Rob? From what we've been able to figure out, that's kind of Sora, and that's very interesting because that is someone who we know Matthias has played in the past, and we know usually, as of recently, Matthias has leaned into playing that Joker more often than not. But at the same time, seeing this would be very interesting to see if they can line up Matthias for Vidad if the Rob comes out to play the Sora into it, because that would be nice. At the same time, if Fisher has done any studying on St. Clair, which, we don't know if they have or not, but if they have done some extensive research, they would figure out that St. Clair usually opens up with Northstream, who plays that Bowser Jr. And if that is true, Rob is one of the direct counters to Bowser Jr. So if I was Fisher, I would probably be opening up with Vidad, because not only do you avoid Moth Eyes first without potentially draining 3 of your stocks immediately, you can then have your preferred matchup if St. Clair follow what they've done throughout the entire season throughout NECC, which would be opening up with Northstream on that Bowser Jr. Wouldn't you think so, Brandon?
Absolutely. If they done research, we've seen every single game, with the Bowser Jr. being first picked, a very good bait and good bait and punish opening. Just to Bowser Jr. just wants to just bait them into a spot, get positioning, and get those easy stocks right off the bat. Could tilt your earlier players, especially also younger players, right? At least experienced, are fighting the emotions, especially in playoffs here. And if they open up the Raw, but St. Clair could also done the research as well, and maybe also saw this move, and maybe we might see either a different pick, or the Bowser Jr. maybe being pushed below to a 3rd or maybe 2nd.
Well, you know what? I was going to say, look at the look on Northstream's face right now. It's as if Northstream knows that the Rob's just waiting.
It's coming.
Waiting for them as they get into the server. But right now, it is actually St. Clair who's having problems connecting with Fisher. So we do have some minor delays. At the same time, I will stress that this is now a best of 3 that we open up for in our first round. And it seems like, as of right now, St. Clair, they usually get off to slow starts. I think one of the things that St. Clair struggle with is also, like Alex was talking about earlier, they have gotten better at it, but it's been discipline on how they use their stocks. And I think that there were a lot of throwaways that I saw as well, judging from past NECC matchups, especially when we saw Ridley work against about 3 of their players.
Oh, the Ridley.
That was so troll.
Oh,
that was so troll.
That was tragedy. That was the worst case scenario for St. Clair, right? Ridley, not that great of a champion, but the fact that you come up with Ridley with, was it 1 stock, and he takes 3, heartbreaking.
You can't have that happen.
Demotivating. It's just something you can't have happen, especially in playoffs. But thank God it happened in the season, right? So you can learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm getting the word right now that we're going in, and here we go. We have Fisher and St. Clair, or at least shortly going in, but I think they've definitely gotten into contact with them, so that should be happening soon. At the same time, I want to now stress about Cool Skeleton, okay? The Wario main. We saw some very great stuff out of him last time we were streaming here. What do we think is kind of the key if you want to tackle anyone on Fisher that Cool Skeleton? What are some things, even just mentally, that he has to kind of channel in going into this matchup?
It's mainly not making mistakes and keeping to your own game and how you want to. You have to visualize how you want to win that set. How you want to play, how you want to position, right? And now that game plan can change due to what the matchup is, right? And what your role is. Sometimes you just get in a bad matchup and you just got to take as much damage as you can, right? And you do that. You set yourself up. You set your team up also for an easy stock and good counter, and then you're just able to keep helping your team move through the game smoothly, at least also set them up as well.
Absolutely. I think that's something that St. Clair needs to work on, at least from what I've seen. And this is kind of just a common connection between all of our other varsity teams. I've definitely, if you've watched me cast before, I've always made this of a point, is just the mental. Not chalking your mental. And I think some of these players, sometimes they have harder times controlling their mentals if they're getting absolutely slammed. Last time, I believe I remember watching some of the players as of no skill going into it with, I think, not really as good of a mental, and we saw that affect him. But now you see that it's going to be that Bowser Jr. versus that Rob. So we were talking about it earlier. This should be a direct counter and a good move from Fisher, as we already see vibes starting out very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the matchup that North Dream has nightmares about, all right? Straight counter right off the bat, playoffs. It's already an uphill battle, and of course, it just starts off with your worst counter.
Yeah, at the same time, I think something that is going to be very good for Fisher is at least just the mentality of knowing that they have the strong start, right? We just talked about how St. Clair's mental isn't the strongest at times, so getting off to a raring start against St. Clair is probably something that Fisher, they look very much forward to doing, as we see already North Dream showing the 126%. Starting to build up a little bit, has the combos, but has to watch out as they try to ledge guard to make sure that they don't get sent off either. And there it is. As we cross the 150 line, that's going to be the first stock going over to Fisher.
Absolutely. All North Dream has to do is at least get 1 or 2 stocks on this Rob here. That's all he has to do. Just keep his mental straight. I know it's a bad matchup, but you can't let your team down here, especially in playoffs.
Yeah, I think, you know what? The mental for North Dream has to really kind of lock in and just focus on getting this first stock. You have the Rob at 129, almost anything. You could breathe on the Rob, and it would end it all. But as of right now, North Dream kind of getting a little bit of a beating here as the Rob is doing it very good to just sustain and build as much percentage onto North Dream's second stock as much as possible. 136 we see both players going off the ledge. It's going to be very close, but it's going to be North Dream who lands the up attack and is going to be able to then self-recover. And now we see the final hit coming through. So all of the sudden, again, we see how the Rob is just so crucial in countering out this Bowser Jr. 2 stocks down, and North Dream hasn't even been able to claw their way into taking one off of this Rob.
He's getting close, though. At 148, he just needs 1 punish, 1 combo, and then he's able to get at least 1 stock off a Rob. And I wouldn't even blame this matchup even on North Dream. He is trying so hard right now, but it's just so much you can do against your counter. Oh, there you go. At least he evens up for 1 stock.
I was going to say, that's good news. And you know what? Even if North Dream ends up going down here, to at least take off that first stock off the Rob, it's going to almost make the job easier. Well, it obviously is going to make the job easier for the next person in line, but I was going to say an even easier job for potentially Moth Eyes if they choose to utilize the Sora up against the Rob in the next matchup.
Absolutely, but it will be a risk, because if Moth Eyes shows himself, you know who exactly is coming right after Rob.
Absolutely, because we know that Pikachu is just lying and waiting
Just
if we see
sitting there in the
Joker
bushes.
gets picked out. So it'll be very interesting, but at the same time, now we see that this is going to be the final one. The Rob takes North Dream down 3 stocks to 1, and a very strong start for Fisher right out the gate. And now the advantage goes over to them, as now these next 2 stocks from Rob can just be used in sort of a draining manner. If this Rob gets any other stock from St. Clair, it's immediately such a huge bonus.
Absolutely. With Fisher now with up 2 stocks, able to also maybe bleed some damage and maybe get some stocks off of either whoever it might be, Matthias or what's his name again?
Neon or Cool Skeleton?
Yeah, Cool Skeleton. But Fisher has put themselves with a strong start. That's the one thing that St. Clair has not really had all season.
Yeah.
Has been a strong start. 1 or 2 stocks here and there, right? But has never been like I don't think they've won a first battle.
At the same time, sometimes what I like about North Dream is that it's kind of a switch up. Not many people expect the Bowser Jr. coming out immediately, as we have some replays coming right at you. And we do see here just the effect of what this Rob can do to the Bowser Jr. Again, it did seem like every time the Rob started looping in combos, we would just see the percents go in almost 30 and 40% increments. And that's so huge because there was barely anything the Bowser Jr. could really do to counter out the Rob. It was just sort of a little bit of just too dangerous. Whenever the Bowser Jr. would try to get in close, the Rob would just almost make them instantly pay for it. And it really does show right there why Rob is such a great counter
Yeah, I know.
to Bowser Jr. And kind of a rough start for St. Clair overall.
Tough. You gotta, breathe. You gotta focus on the next battle. The next fight, the next player. That's all you gotta do. You gotta clear the mental. You're down, but you're not out, and that's what matters, right? But yeah, like we saw there with the Rob and the Bowser Jr. Like Rob is able to outrange, and like Bowser Jr. needs to get in close, and Rob is able to get free damage and then also punish whenever Bowser Jr. wanted to do anything there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the biggest things for the Rob there, was just simply waiting for the Bowser Jr. to go in and then focus on counterattacking. And also just not falling for the Bowser Jr. trying to get the Rob to kind of get close to try to bait some ledge guards. It was just almost very simple for the Rob to just sit, realize, I know what kind of game you're playing. I'm just going to wait and not bait into this. And as long as I know that I can counter you with my range and my combos as well, that they don't suit up well against Bowser Jr., that's all that the role requires.
It's an easy game plan for Rob to know and then also execute as well.
I was going to say, and looking at how Fisher have started, it seems like, from what I've been aware of, yeah, they have done the research, because they immediately knew that St. Clair always opens with the Bowser Jr. and the Rob comes through. It's just, it couldn't be more of a clean start. So here we go. The emotes are down, and now things get started immediately. It's going to be Cool Skeleton with the Wario. We all know he's been very good on this role, but how's he going to be able to fare up against Rob on Fisher, against Vidad, who at this point, take down even one stock off Cool Skeleton, you've done more than enough. You've already taken a player out of the mix.
Absolutely. Gets one, it's just like, I did my job, I got my one. You know how it goes. But yeah, but this is a more favorable matchup for Wario here, and then hopefully St. Clair will be able to clean this up without bleeding too many stocks.
As we do see hits coming through, it's going to be some up combos there from the Wario. Throws the bike, but nothing to be done. Blocks the laser beam from the Rob, and now looking at counterattacking the Rob, almost at 100%, but at the same time, the Wario is burning. He's on fire, but he just barely escapes the air combo by utilizing the bike to break that one up.
That was a good play there. That could have also ended really bad if he got knocked off or... Ooh, what a kick. Can he get the ledge guard, though?
I was going to say, that's what I'm waiting for. There you go.
There it is.
There you go. That's how you have to start things off, but immediately you have to watch your own percentage right here. The Rob, it's in a great scenario to counter and take a stock off of Cool Skeleton. And at the end of the day, now everything else is just bonus. Even the fact that he's able to take a stock off the Wario, Vidad has done more than enough here for Fisher. Getting a second one would almost be catastrophic for St. Clair's chances.
Absolutely. It'll be really difficult here, but Rob kind of struggling here, getting caught in these combos here with the Wario. Wario getting him off the ledge there. Can he actually get the punish here? But it looks like Rob's able to come back and recover really good.
Yeah, you know what? One thing you have to watch out for with Cool Skeleton is when you see that Wario do the spin and then immediately starts hitting you with the claps from up above. That's usually how he starts getting his combos out. But at the same time, right now, we do see that is absolutely massive. 105 only for the Wario, and now, again, Vidad, he's taken now a second stock off of Cool Skeleton. This is definitely a lot more sort of mentally chalking and also worrisome for the side of St. Clair. We also see that the juggle's in between the spinning top.
Rob's getting
able
low,
to
though.
do so. He's getting low, but at the same time, could you just imagine how insane this would be? He was able to just take that final stock off the Wario. It doesn't happen, but at the same time, taking two stocks off Cool Skeleton, Vidad has done more than enough.
Absolutely, but at least St. Clair gets out of there. It's not the worst case scenario of losing almost all three stocks against a Rob here, and Skeleton needs to focus up. Could he also pull a miracle? Like we say, like, oh, could Fisher pull off the miracle? Why could St. Clair also, with the Wario here, maybe get two stocks out of one?
I don't know, but if I had to take my guess, I could tell you right now that if I wanted to clean this up, or at least play the safe play for Fisher, I'd throw in Calm right about now. Someone who is kind of newer, someone who's not easy to get info on. 7th in Massachusetts ratings, which is still under DM. So you have DM waiting still in the clutch time, and you have Leviathan. They're kind of the two rocks that are kind of the keystones for Fisher, who you can just rely on to get you through a series. And if you can just save them, not only just for actual stock purposes, but also just fatigue purposes, this could be huge for Fisher if Calm could come through quickly and Cool Skeleton and then get into St. Clair's third player, especially if he can do so without even taking a stock of his own. That would be absolutely massive for Fisher. So again, I still think Fisher, they are most definitely in the driver's seat here, and they're looking pretty good so far to start out.
They have the cushion, right? Calm can come in; it doesn't matter. Like they like, he has they're 2 strikes up. There's 2 stocks up here. Calm can come in, but get that energy fresh. You know, we get some replays here of Rob getting 2 off of the Warrior, which is a big momentum shift towards Fisher.
Yeah, well, it was good from the Wario. We saw the ledge guard, and that is probably the biggest turning point there. You have the Wario at 105, and you wouldn't think that's really an area where at least you'd want to hit maybe 1 or 2 more hits before you can start thinking about ending it all. But the 105 immediately into the air combo, and that's enough to send him off the stadium. That's actually huge, because you were going to say maybe, you shield when you counter, you get out of that. Maybe you can bank on landing a little more percentage and maybe start getting some combos of your own, flipping the tide. But it seems like right now when St. Clair, when their players are getting hit by combos, they have a very tough time of getting out of those situations
and recovering.
Yes. Exactly. They're usually very prone to kind of entering a little more timid in the next engagement, and I'm kind of seeing that when Fisher wins one sort of engagement and starts a combo of their own, the next time they engage, it's the same thing. St. Clair, it's kind of like their players almost get scared the second that you get out of a combo where it's like, wow, I really just took like 40% right there. I get why they're scared to enter another engagement, and they're maybe overthinking it a little too much, because I feel like there's a little bit of hesitation between where to enter from, and that's kind of why Vidad was able to sort of specialize in kind of limiting the ground to his playing field, because if you go in close, throw the spinning top, you can juggle in between there. We saw him do that to the Wario. So now we see that Fox gets brought out as well. And judging at the fact that looking at other mains, Falco, I would say that this is probably Calm that's playing right now.
Absolutely. Is it actually
Sorry, not Falco. Yeah, it is Fox. What am I talking about? Sorry. Or Wolf. Okay, sorry. I'm not.
Got to know our champs, boys.
At the same time, let's focus on the actual matchup right now. So we have, again, it is Cool Skeleton with 1 stock left to go. You would almost think that for Wolf on Fisher right now, this has to be a gimme moment, and if this is true, Cool Skeleton, you're just trying to work off any stock before. I'm assuming you bring in either Neon or Moth Eyes to be your last 2 players, but at the same time,
Skeleton
gotta watch it, because Wolf
can't hesitate here.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at the range as well. The difference in range. You can just build percentage off the Wolf, off that blast from the gun, and again, with Wario, usually it needs to be everything very close in range, and we see the bite going down as well, trying to get some ledge guarding in.
Absolutely. Like, I think Warriors here is just trying to get at least 1 stock here, playing the edges here, trying to zone out, try not to take too much damage to where Wolf can come and just basically range him out for a stock.
Yeah, again, we see the Wario trying to ledge guard. Hits the bite. That's actually very nice, but needs to just sit and wait again. Wolf trying to see can find the counter here. It's just, he has the dash, and there immediately you see it was just Cool Skeleton who just a little overextended. The backhand is going to be able to do it, though, and you know what? There you go. You, at the very minimum, you get 1, but now you have to think that this is probably going to be it for Cool Skeleton. Wolf just needs to hit probably just 1 more. He just touch him 1 more time, and then immediately after that, it's going to be game over. Anything can send off this Wario, but here we go. This is probably the start of it. You can have the ledge guard now as well. Last one the gun puts him at 159. You just have to breathe on him, Wolf. You're going to pretty much end this man out. But
he's still
172, Cool Skeleton's still in. But I was going to say, the second you have any hits that go not into the middle of the platform, it's probably going to do it for Cool Skeleton. But you know what? You get rid of a stock on the Wolf. That's not the worst scenario. That's actually pretty good.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the coach wanted.
Yeah.
It's just like, just get 1 off. You do that, you've done your job, Cool off, chill out, you got it, and then sets up probably, there's Matthias.
No, that's no skill. That's no skill, actually, who's going to be, no skill is going to be coming out as well. Not, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, but with no skill, a player who I can talk about a little bit, no skill is someone who mains Young Link, and I think is going to be again, more suitable for this Wolf if we take in the range, right? Has the boomerang, has the bow and arrow, right? So again, it's a lot easier, especially when you ledge guard with the young Link as well, when you're looking at these players like Wolf. So I think that this is actually a decent setup here, seeing the character that's brought out. They're kind of just matching the energy of Fisher. At the same time, what No Skill suffers from is once he's gotten himself into a little bit of a blunder, let's say he loses first stock right off the rip, his mental goes down, and I've seen him as I was hosting in previous events sometimes, when he's in the pit and he's trying to sort of re-engage into the battle. Those are the moments where he kind of starts to doubt himself. He talks to himself a little bit sometimes. He's like, oh, why did I miss that or whatnot?
Yeah.
And thoughts like that can kind of really ramp up the pressure as we get into some replays as well. We see Wolf being able to finish off
It's
the
a blessing
warrior there.
and a disguise. Like, as a player, like, you're seeing the mistakes that you're making, so at least you know them, but it can, like, especially when you're playing on stage or you're in a game,
Yeah.
a lot of those thoughts can also hurt your confidence as well. So hopefully he's able to open up strong and keep it, because if he opens up strong and keeps that positive mental, we can see some magic happen here out of St. Clair.
Yeah, you know what? But again, Magic, a far stretch. We still know that Fisher, they have a lot left in the gas tank. We're going to be getting in a match very shortly, but I think something that I want to point out real quick, Brendan, is that we didn't actually go over our overall score predictions for what we think is going to happen here tonight in this best-of-3 series. We can predict it from stocks if you want, or do you just want to go series in
We
total?
can do series, but
Do we think, because looking on it on paper, I'm just going to be real honest, Fisher does have the
They're
way
the-
better team on
yeah.
paper. At the same time, especially when you take in the seed number, Fisher, you know, the 2-0 is definitely something that would be the safest pick. But do we think, based on how St. Clair have been in the past, we know that sometimes as they ease into a series, they start to perform better. Do we think that we could potentially see St. Clair taking a series off of Fisher, or is that going to be something that is a little more, you know, harder to imagine?
Well, think about it like this. Like, I think, honestly, for my prediction for the series, right, I think it's going to be 2-1, because I think Fisher will probably win this first one here. They're in the driver's seat for that. They might get overconfident and then start making mistakes, making dumb mistakes, thinking that the series is already over. We've seen that a lot in collegiate, and heck, you even see that even in professional sports where people think the game's over before it is.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, look at the stock numbers right now. They are only down by 2, but at the same time, that 2 can mean so much more as we get into some of these latter stages of the series. But for now, I won't lie, No Skill.
Start off strong.
Starting off very strong, has the combo immediately off of the boomerang, and we're starting to see where I get into the comments of that range matchup. Now you're starting to see more of the range capabilities that are a lot easier for the young Link to deal with when facing off against a character like Wolf as opposed
already
to
100% already, and
Yeah.
Link's only took 24/7. Like, he knows the game plan, outrange, outposition, and he's gonna get probably at least 2 stocks probably for free.
Well, you would hope that's the case, but right now, I was going to say No Skill is already at 70 himself, so he's just got to watch it. One thing that the young Link can do very well is immediately when you see the ledge happen, you have the boomerang, you have the bomb, you have the bow and arrow. This ledge guarding capability from the young Link is something that a lot of players can use against characters that suffer from being able to engage into space very quickly. Now, we are seeing sort of the fruits of labor of that notion as immediately a stock goes down, and it's a great job so far from No Skill.
Absolutely. This is exactly where he wants his strong opening. Maybe, yeah, he got comboed there a couple times, but honestly, solid start. Solid start out of the Link.
Yeah, immediately just trying to see if he can get anything else with that boomerang, but in doing so, it's going to cost him because his range is just too close in. You miss the boomerang, you allow the Wolf some time to close that distance, and when that happens, bad things come awry, and we do see that the young Link loses stock there, but grab almost happening is now building off on this last stock potentially for the Wolf. No Skill doing a very good job.
Yeah, no, No Skill gets, just clears it out, St. Clair's only down 1 stock here, if he's able to beat Wolf here.
Yeah, and I mean, that would be huge, not only just for the series in general, but also the mental of the players. But wow, on 98%, going out there is actually very unlucky. So now we see that it's more or less you just want to finish off this Wolf very quickly without making it threatening. But these are those pressurized moments that sometimes I've seen No Skill not be able to thrive in, sometimes chokes under pressure and lets a character lets the opponent with high percentage somehow get away with it and trickle down on
close,
to
though.
the life, as we do see. Yeah, 65% doing pretty good right now, but again, a couple more combos and not being able to finish it off, and we see now it's really any man's game. One more combo could completely do it. The ledge guard happens, and there it is. That's the worst case scenario. It's exactly as I said before. We've seen No Skill crumble in these moments previously, and we do see that happen again as the Wolf, huge clutch from Fisher there, is able to now get rid of that young Link, as now Coach Alex Neon steps in to see if he can even things out.
Absolutely. You know, it looked so good there. Strong start out of No Skill, and sadly just not able to close out. He got to high percentages, but it's just one mistake into another mistake, and then that costs him all three of his lives there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Something with that No Skill did really good was obviously opening up. We saw the range on the Wolf really start to take effect, but man, that one really, really hurts. It was such a good start, and then immediately we do see sort of what I've had a problem with earlier in the semester with No Skill, and that's sometimes when characters, when he gets so close to being able to finish them off, just can't quite get there, and sometimes gets hit with a combo, immediately starts questioning himself, questions where to engage from, and before he knows it, combos start to build up, percentage starts to build up.
He starts spamming as
exactly.
well.
I'm starting noticing that as well. So you get kind of timid, you get kind of scared, and you start panicking, and that's kind of what we saw there, as the Wolf was very much calm, composed, worked a lot on positioning, and really what I noticed was the second that you bait out that boomerang from the young Link, that was where you had the time gap to utilize the Wolf's speed to close the distance, to close that gap in positioning, and start to really nail in some of those combos before the boomerang lands. You can just quickly duck out, escape, and you're just building percentage.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Wolf knew, like, after, like, the first stock, he's like, all right, I really need to not get hit by this boomerang. And like I said, he gap closes right when he saw that go out, and he misses. And then he's able to close it out, and then also get 3 stocks as well. Let's hope Alex here able to at least get this 1 stock out here. Oh,
I was going to say, Alex has a lot to do here. Neon, the coach going through, mains a lot of Robin, as we do see, hopefully, Neon will be able to just get rid of this Wolf once and for all. This Wolf technically doesn't really even need to do anything, and it'll still be job done. He's already done more than enough, especially getting rid of that young Link from St. Clair's squad, but
he could put
could
a
you
lot
imagine,
of pressure on St. Clair.
I was going to say, well, there already is a lot of pressure on St. Clair. Could you just imagine how much more there could be if you drain a stock here from Neon? I mean, that's going to be huge, and right now he's definitely winning the race to doing so.
Absolutely here, but like, Alex needs to be careful also with his usage on the book as well here. He's got to really manage those cooldowns and that gauge as well to get as much damage, but not a great start here.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? For Fisher, you got to be feeling confident, especially, and I'm pretty sure this is Calm playing right now. Calm's got to be feeling good. You drain 1 stock here from the Robin, and it's probably looking like GG's all around. That's probably going to be game 1 going over to Fisher, and again, regardless of what was going to happen today, you would have thought that was going to be the case anyway, because you still have 2 players lurking for Fisher.
Ooh.
The ledge guard almost happens, but now anything will be able to kill Alex, as he was on 150 at the start of that and goes down, so the Wolf able to take a stock.
I was going to say, like, if he just able to get that stock there, even if he had high damage and didn't lose a stock, it's technically still fine, right?
Yeah, because you start off with 0 in the next one, right?
But sadly, going down with that stock there is not how you wanted to start at that. You probably just wanted a clean sweep, but...
Wow! Oh my!
Whoa.
What? There's no way. Does the Wolf just finish this off right here? That would be absolutely ridiculous.
All right.
Finally, it's done, but Alex, definitely not the scenario he would have wanted. If we look to the player cam right now, I can almost guarantee you he's very frustrated. So, I mean, honestly, I think he's smiling, but one of the things I know that Alex does sometimes is he talks about sort of what he could have done better. We see the head shake, so we do know, yeah, he's just kind of
frustrated.
a little frustrated at himself, and honestly, I don't blame him. The Wolf just simply got away with too much there, and I think that's kind of what the epitome of what the series has been so far, is players on Fisher getting away with way too much.
Absolutely. We even see that with like St. Clair. I think that's been a common theme for a lot of
even in their
games
other
I've seen,
matches,
where it's just like, all right, not the best start. They're able to recover. It then becomes like a two-stock type of game, and then all of a sudden this one pick is able just to rug pull St. Clair's chances.
Yeah, that's definitely what we've seen from the Wolf here. I mean, you got to remember, right? Literally goes through Cool Skeleton, goes through the Young Link, and now drains 2 stocks out from Neon. That is unreal. And if that is Calm playing the Wolf, Calm has done an absolutely beautiful job here for Fisher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did it way more enough. He's basically the reason why like the Fisher is now in the driver's seat just for a clean first win, first game of our best of 3 here for the NECC playoffs. Could St. Clair rebound here for next game? Do you think?
Well, the thing that I think they have to work on is just, again, we started with Alex's interview. He was saying that they worked on discipline of stocks and whatnot. But in all honesty, from what I'm seeing, I don't necessarily think so, because there are times, especially that we saw with No Skill was one to comment on, where those stocks definitely were not handled with the most discipline. There were many times where panic was starting to set in, Russians were happening, the Boomerang got baited way too much. But right now, we'll have to see how this one goes down, as now
Mithra.
Fisher.
There's the
St.
Mithra
Clair.
pick. They were hiding for the 4th.
I was going to say, and if it's Mithra coming out, then we can concur that this is probably DM playing. So at least we got the lineup order right, I'm assuming, from Fisher, because we know that DM mains the Mithra and the Pikachu. Again, the ex-Sinai Village Pro looking to finish things off against St. Clair, and, well, doing a pretty good job so far.
Absolutely. Strong start, 84 damage. On to Alex there. Hopefully Alex is able to at least get some responses or maybe recover here and at least catch his breath. Maybe, you don't have to, like, go out with a whimper for St. Clair.
Yeah, again, just has to be very careful, though, on that ledge. Even in this positioning, very still in a horrible area, especially now. We saw that the Mithra can have some lethal air combos, especially when plunging the sword into the fiery depths of hell, waiting for the ledge guard as well. So, again, that's going to be all she wrote. Mithra DM gets it done for Fisher, as Fisher takes the first series. Pyra, Mithra, it's the same person.
Yeah. With 6 lives at hand, that game could have gone any way, but it's all comes back to that Wolf. That Wolf really came in clutch there and really set the Fisher up for success there. But another thing you were talking about earlier about, how the coach said they were trying to get more discipline with their lives there. Do you think that maybe we saw a lot of hesitation and panic in those early stages there? Do you think that maybe they're too afraid to make a mistake or make the wrong move, which is now also hindering their play?
Yeah, you know what? I think this is one of those things where they just didn't start off right. And I get it, you're kind of trying to go off of the team's sort of coordination, but you know that going into this game, right, that Vidad literally mains Rob. Hard mains Rob, and you're going to open with the Bowser Jr. I don't necessarily think that's a great matchup. If I were going to look at this one back, especially because we knew this coming into this, right? This was info that could have been attained. I think that
could have been scouted as well.
Yeah, when looking at this matchup, I would have actually really loved to see No Skill be the opener here as the young Link.
Which looks like they're going to do for game 2.
On the Rob. And I was going to say, it looks like they're going to do that for game 2, but at the same time, does Fisher even keep their same rotation? I don't really necessarily know. I mean, I guess you would, because technically if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if this is an adaptive strategy from St. Clair, I will say it's a pretty good one.
Absolutely, right? Also, Fisher doesn't know that they could be switching the order as well. As well for that, but you gotta change something up. We could be getting stream sniped. That's another thing, but that's a whole other problem. But
not that we're not accusing anyone.
We're not accusing. Disclaimer.
But you know what? I will say, moving off of that topic, I think that St. Clair. You know what? I do like this change, but you just wish that you would have had seen that sooner. Maybe questioning the lineup order a little bit. It has to be done.
Definitely a preparation blunder. That they see the Rob pick, that's a possibility. Then again, they didn't quite know until like last second which players were going to be playing in this game, right? There's so many other things. They probably had like different lists of like what different players, right? But since how consistent St. Clair has been with their openers, I think you could have maybe hid the Bowser Jr. maybe into a 3 or a 2 spot instead of a first, which is kind of what they're doing. Unless they're luring Fisher into a false sense of, solid like
Security.
security, right? But here we go. We're starting with Mithra versus Young Link.
Yes, again, the Pyra Mithra versus Young Link. This is, again, Fisher now changing up their lineup, assuming this is DM playing right now. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. Gotta watch out for those air combos against the Pyra now. As the Young
able
Link,
to close the gap so fast.
again, it's just all on range versus speed, but we've seen what happens when, again, the Young Link has to face off against someone who's extremely fast at closing gaps in distance, and it didn't go so well, as that was the Wolf who was able to finish things off quite strong.
Absolutely here, but Neon, or sorry, not Neon, Young Link really needs to recover, get his positioning back, because if he can't, like, this is what happens, if he can't get position, he can't get his abilities out, Mithra's just going to run all over him.
Absolutely, and as we already see, it's going to be drained of 1 stock. So remember, these are the final 12 potentially for the NECC playoffs for St. Clair. But in doing so, they're hoping to take down a couple of
bomb?
Fishers. The bomb was a great play there, but again, the positioning from the Pyra still somewhat decent as getting juggled a little bit. This is really nice work from what we're seeing right now from No Skill. And here we go. This is really the range where the Young Link excels at. That being said, now the Pyra starting to land a little bit.
We actually saw some of that playset. It looks like he's predicting where she's going to be dashing to, and there's like a bomb waiting to punish her at the end there, which is very good switch up to the style we saw.
Yeah, I think that if you utilized that sort of style against that Wolf, that could have been something maybe that would have helped you out a whole lot. And that's kind of what I'm picking up now as we do see this going through. The Pyra is so low, almost anything that hits her will be able to send her off. But again, you know, we have seen No Skill struggle in these scenarios before, and there it is again.
It's a repeat.
It's the exact same thing, being sent off the edge. Quite unlucky there. 160. He just got to finish the job, but all of a sudden combos start landing. 36 done already. Make that 41, and his blows keep on happening. Couple of ledge guards, aerial combos. This one might even be over.
Oh, at least he gets precision here.
I was going to say, you have the position of the ledge, but
he doesn't
can't
get it.
Can't counter.
The
You just can't
iframes.
contain. That's game. Look at that. It's the exact same thing.
God. Not a great start again out of St. Clair here. Which it looked close there. We saw some like different like tech combos there, like you said with prediction with the game. Like No Skill knows. He's kind of frustrated with that one. Like you kind of saw some life out of him. Like yeah, he lost the first stock, but then we saw like predictions with where the bomb was going, able to get some damage, get some combos, and rinse repeat. But it looks like the Mithra player caught on to that play style.
Yeah, we're going to see North Dream coming in now, and North Dream, she plays a lot of Bowser Jr., and something that I think that I'm very, not necessarily concerned, but intrigued on how that's going to work up against this Pyra Mithra. Wasn't even able to drain 1 stock from the first player on St. Clair, and man, you know, it really just kind of sucks that it's just one of those things where you can kind of tell that No Skill really starts to panic the second that they get over 100. You start thinking, oh man, this should be so easy. But the second you think that and let yourself off of sort of your high horse, then combos start coming through and you start questioning yourself. You start letting things slip. It becomes a game of mental momentum. And we can just see right now that No Skill just kind of struggling there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We're going to get a couple replays of that match, which is just kind of going to be a Fisher kind of highlight reel. Oh, that is not a replay. It's back to North Dream, but then again, we have not seen North Dream really come in as a sub, not what do you call it, substitution, but basically as the 2 instead of the 1.
Yeah, and now I'm hearing that we're actually going to be seeing some replays, and there we go. So it's actually going to be obviously the first stock that we saw drained out. It was the Young Link, just unfortunately starting off slow. Ended up having the Pyra in a perfect scenario, but you get a little bit unlucky on the 93% on the knockout there. And immediately, this one is just so sad because this should have been done from the get-go earlier. We actually see 161. It was literally that on the last one. So the Pyra completely drained 2 stocks
Just
of no
sweet.
skill without even being touched once.
It's just
It's unfortunate.
it's so unfortunate. It's something that you, especially as a coach, you're kind of pulling your hair out. While watching that, I won't lie.
Yeah, I mean, you can't look. You can't.
Listen,
you
it's
gotta
just like
be, you
it's
gotta
like
be
one of those
real.
moments
We're
you're like,
actually-
oh
we gotta
my
be real with
god,
what we're
not
seeing.
again.
We got to be real with what we're seeing, and what we saw there was simply just domination, right? Kudos right there to DM on the Pyra Mithra, who is able to just completely obliterate St. Clair's first player in no skill, and immediately you got to think that mental deterioration that's got to set in.
Yeah, and also the extra pressure onto your next teammate coming up
Yes.
as well, which is it's like a snowball effect. It just goes downhill.
Absolutely, it does. Someone has to kind of take the reins here for St. Clair. I'm not going to lie, to me so far, it's been Cool Skeleton who's looked the best, but at the same time, I think that I could very easily see North Dream being able to kind of snap the curse that was her facing off against that Rob of last match. She might be able to kind of get a little more locked in, as we do say, and hopefully we'll have an easier time dealing with this Pyra. At the same time, I think with the Pyra, you have to watch out for those aerial combos. You have to watch out for those updraft attacks. You have to really also watch out for that ledge guarding ability that she has as well when she forces that sword into the ground. It's just able to keep you at bay, and the ability to create space so quickly is something that usually works against these longer range characters, such as the young Link. But with the Bowser Jr., that isn't something that can necessarily be exposed, so that's why I'm kind of interested in how this one could go.
This is definitely not going to be a strong matchup for Bowser Jr., but since Bowser Jr. likes to bait, she wants to come in, right? And if St. Clair is able to, or Bowser Jr. is able to punish, this could be like what we saw with the first match of this, where it's just like a combo into, like one mistake combos into 2 stocks.
Yeah, but only time will tell as we get right down into things. As now the Bowser Jr. going up against the Pyra Mithra and Fisher. They've opened up strong here, and can they continue their winning ways? Already starting off great.
Daniil in the office right now.
I was gonna say he just walked by. I don't know what he said either. But one thing that
He's
I can
hyped,
say,
he's hyped.
one thing that I can say is right now, Fisher, they're looking good. They're doing their job, and we already see North Dream potentially losing a stock very soon here. 136.
Able to recover though.
Yeah, it's a good recovery, but I would say almost anything will certainly take them out. Just needs to land one more. You got to think the ledge guard's coming through here, but it doesn't happen. Good job, and definitely a
Good
stronger
shield
matchup
there.
of the range for the Bowser Jr. at the very minimum.
Like you're saying, that sword, like keeping the range on him, not be able to, like, North Dream just can't get to where he wants to be, to punish she.
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna say that's a great ledge guard there.
Good
Finds
shit.
the cannonball, but at the same time, you're kind of spamming the attacks on the ledge, and the time just doesn't really work out. And now all of a sudden, you're giving this Pyra Mithra the ability to then find the next combo. And we know that St. Clair, they have a problem of getting out of those scenarios. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But automatically, I question St. Clair's ability to finish people on high percentage, because I've kind of seen that as a thorough sort of effect that we've been shown earlier. And again, 151, you would have thought the last combo would have
There
been
you
able
go.
to finish.
There she
Finally,
goes.
there it is. And finally, North Dream gets the job done, at least for the first stock.
Gets a good early combo there to even out the damage as well. 80 now. If she can get that positioning and keep that energy up here, St. Clair may be able to do what Fisher did to them last game in Game 1 here.
Yeah, again, North Dream, you know what? It's a good usage of the wind-up, but just trying to use those cannonballs to your advantage. It's just not working out, though. It's just the speed of that Pyra Mithra is just so fast, able to just outpace the Bowser Juniors. I think what I'm kind of seeing right now, the ledge guard comes through, and whoa, all of a sudden, the counter! That's a huge play from North Dream, and a big job there done to at least get that second stock off of the Pyra Mythra DM for Fisher.
North Dream fighting, keeping St. Clair alive here with that fantastic stock there. Oh, but can't get the he gets the recovery. The iframes, able to jump back up, get the positioning, close the gap, but the aerial is also a problem.
Yeah, I think right now, you know what? North Dream, it's a good combo. Can he hit the cannonball? Yes! Can! And you would have thought that would have been it. Okay, it was. I was going to say, surely recovery gets used there. Huge from North Dream.
That's the magic I was talking about.
That's what you needed. That's what you needed from St. Clair. And immediately, North Dream, some huge ledge guarding combos.
We're not done. We're not done.
Very happy. Smiles across the face of North Dream, and well-deserved. Put on a clinic and a huge series momentum shifter for St. Clair.
That's some good positive energy to build upon there. You know, things were looking down. You know, it didn't start off well. And North Dream just showed up and pulled some magic out of the hat. Fantastic.
Exactly. It's exactly what you needed, just for the mental as well. But that was absolutely amazing. We did see that, yes, you know what? The Bowser Jr. up against the Pyra Mythra, up against DM, works out a lot better because you don't give the advantage of space taking to the Pyra Mythra. Now, one thing I will say is definitely was getting outpaced.
Yes.
In terms of just attack speed in general, but also, I think that, you know what? Timing beats speed and precision beats power. That's kind of what it is. That was the name of the game. And that's all it comes down to is that was a beautiful KO there from North Dream. You just got to play that one again. It was so nice we had to see it twice.
So good. But we also saw, I think we're seeing Fisher kind of pedal, like foot off the pedal there, you know, letting these mistakes happen there, allowing North Dream to find these punishing moves, and then like the fact that he lost that stock there. What is Fisher thinking right now? What are they thinking for the next person up?
Well, you know what? I think honestly, you still want to save Leviathan. DM's out of the question, but maybe this is an area where you kind of bring in that
the Rob.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Bring in the Rob, because with that spinning top as well, you can try to limit the movement of that Bowser Jr. Can't let him go into obviously that moving cup and escape. So you kind of trap them in this sort of like squared circle that you've invented, and with Rob, and that's where you can really start to kind of get in close. And yes, I get it. Same thing can sort of be said here with Pyra, but the thing that is different with Pyra Mythra than Rob is the fact that it was always the Bowser Jr. that was able to find an escape avenue. With Rob, you lock that down a lot more, and you don't allow for that relief in pressure. And we know that when St. Clair is backed up against the ropes half the time, it doesn't usually do too well.
Yeah, absolutely. But here we go.
There it is.
There he is. Now, all that positive, you know, good feelings you had for the last series, and then you go against Rob, and you're down a stock.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to have to see how this one plays out. The last time we saw this happen, well, it didn't go so well. So, you know what? North Dream.
Oh, it's a good start.
We'll see if she can just try to have anything to say about the matter. But immediately, I will say, a way better start, as I think North Dream's a lot more kind of locked into the series.
She doesn't care.
Already, 111, looking to hit some big moves, and has already done so. A good job of just using the guided cannonball for the ledge guard, and there you go.
Even is it out. We got a game. We got a game.
There you go. That's all it takes. But now,
oh no,
the Rob landing the first combo, looking for the ledge guard, but it's not going to happen. Shields through the cannonball, but now the updraft combos happen again. This is the second time we've seen that hit. 53% is usually what it deals, but we do see the Rob has some long-range moves, and now brings a combo of his own. You just got to watch out for that laser beam, because that can be the one thing that sort of stops the Bowser Jr.'s momentum.
Now, North Dream definitely, she definitely started that combo. Like, looks like she learned from the first encounter. Like, I think she was more hesitant because, like, it's a bad matchup, right? And she didn't want to make any mistakes. Right off the bat, she's like, I'm down a stock. I don't care. And she just comes out blazing and probably surprised the Rob player.
Yeah, you know what? I think that with Rob, again, you have to be very careful with how you position yourself for the ledge guard, because we've seen it not really work out so far for Rob, which I'm assuming is Vidad based on what we have down. And again, North Dream doing a very good job here. Would be so huge if we just take that next stock down and even things out. The guided cannonball, can it hit? No, not quite. The ledge guard, no. Can he escape upwards? Yes, Rob is able to just barely survive. The hammer almost comes through as well, has a spinning top, and all of a sudden now things shift. The tides shift. The ledge guard comes through, but now it's going to be North Dream who has the advantage of percentage. But at this point, both players are so close. You would just have to think that a
one
back B,
mistake
will do it. There it is. The updraft attack, the aerial combo there from the Rob is able to do it so close as well. North Dream, you know, maybe you would have wanted one more stock there off the Rob, but at the same time, I think definitely has done more than accepted.
She did her job. Honestly, she should be proud of what that was. Like, the first map, getting the momentum back, getting St. Clair back into a good winning spot. But, you know, Rob will rob you.
Yeah, you know what? You've said it best right there, but now this is where St. Clair, they've been in a scenario like this before where it's like, okay, you have gotten 2 stocks, you just get them over and done with. We can move on, and hopefully you have 1 stock or 2 left for the next guy in line. Yeah, that never happens. This is a scenario where usually we see teams on 2 stocks versus St. Clair get away with way too much, and
we've seen it happen again
and again. It's a constant theme.
Which is not a good theme, and as a coach, that must be driving you insane how many times you're seeing that happen. But let's hopefully, it's playoffs, the season's over, whatever happened. Let's hope they fix it up, you know, clean it up, and put St. Clair can also come here, either take an advantage or at least even out the series.
One thing I think that we look at with this Rob versus Wario matchup that I'm going to be very intrigued upon is how the Rob can just create distance from the Wario. Obviously, have to watch out for the ledge guard because the Wario has that bite, obviously. But one thing that I think the Rob needs to utilize is that laser beam more. We know that it can create distance with Wario, someone who, again, doesn't really close gaps as quickly, has that spinning attack that can kind of do that, but at the same time, then has a little bit of a cooldown, at least on iframes, and then is open to counterattacks. So, again, with that spinning top, if you can just keep distance, we saw actually on the last stock that North Dream have, that Rob was doing that by getting them close to the edge, by spamming that spinning top over and over again, catching it, sending it back out, and just created that bounce back distance to then control the ledge guard. That's something that I think could work very well against a Wario if left unchecked, and especially with that laser beam as well being such a great way to get out of combos, as we saw from before juggles, especially with aerial juggles that we saw the Bowser Jr. trying to do, right? That is something that the Rob can excel at, and something that we know that Cool Skeleton loves to try to do with Wario. We see the spin into the updraft and collapse, and usually then he just has to hit one more down B, and then it's just over from there. That's a big combo that the Rob can break up with that laser beam.
Yes, but Skeleton has also seen that. He knows what's happening. He knows the bag of tricks, and hopefully with this, you know, whatever. First game happened, it's whatever. You brush it off, you delete it, delete some of it.
Delete from your memory.
Some of your memory. But you go in there, but you know what's going to happen. You know what he's going to bring, and hopefully he's able to just lock in, see, like, he knows his openers, knows exactly what the Rob's going to do, and hopefully formulating a game plan around it.
Yeah, you know what? Only time will tell. We should be heading into game very shortly, and here we are, Wario versus the Rob. St. Clair, they're down by 2 stocks. They've been in this position before, but like I've also stated before, they don't do very well when seen with an opponent who doesn't have the full 3 available to them. We already see the Rob trying to close the distance and use that pressure to get Wario close to the edge with that spinning top, as I stated out before. It's a good job of, so far, starting out some combos, but now you have to watch out the Wario. Already starting to use those updrafting claps. We know Cool Skeleton really loves to do so. But now, punches, kicks going through. The bike is a huge relief as an easy way to get out of some of that ledge guarding from the Rob. There we see being put to use there. Wario, that bike, it's doing numbers for you. Hits the back body slam and immediately creates some good distance from the Rob, but just as fast as that happened, the Rob closes it.
We see that Skeleton's play style here is also to utilize the upper platforms there to dodge the spinning top.
Yes.
Right? And he knows. It looks like he's figured out a way to neutralize that spinning top move that you were talking about earlier.
At the same time, it also is something that the Rob can read into. Okay, if he's going to dodge my spinning tops, then I know that he's going to be utilizing those upper ledges more. It's a great job of ledge guarding there, though,
Good start
from Cool Skeleton. He's able to drain the first stock easy.
Absolutely, good start here. You know, he does have 100 damage, but he's able to just get one more here. If he can get a cheeky stock here and then even up St. Clair and the Fisher for stocks-wise, we have a game on our hand here. It could go either way.
At the same time, you just got to watch out. The Rob is becoming more used to how Cool Skeleton plays on those upper layers. We saw him jumping and throwing the spinning top instead.
The juggle here,
just
keep
to
him off
try
the ledge.
to keep him off of the ground. And now,
He
there it is. Huge from Cool Skeleton.
Oh my god!
We're tied up all of a sudden. Brendan.
Skeleton knew it. He knew it. He knew it. He's a high percentage. He's like, I gotta go for the ledge. I gotta go for the ledge play.
Very happy. We're all tied up now. 6 apiece. Wario does a great job. And you know what? In a scenario where we've seen St. Clair bottle up before, they don't do so this time.
Here's the magic. You know, we saw North Skill bring out the magic. Second fight, North Dream. What's the names? But anyways, third. Then we saw a good like no stock. That's the one thing. Like St. Clair in those circumstances where they have to close out, will all like just either bleed 1 or 2 stocks, or like we see lose all 3. But here we go. This is something we have not like. St. Clair's able to close it out and even out the match and the lives here.
Yeah, this was huge. It was honestly such a crazy game here from Cool Skeleton, really peaking. I love the way that we saw Cool Skeleton on the ledge guard looking for the down combos, but also utilizing the bike to kind of break up the distance, give himself time to kind of process what was going on. And you pointed out something amazing that Cool Skeleton did, something to do to avoid having himself put closer to the edge from that Rob, is use those top 2 layers to avoid the spinning top. And by the time the Rob caught on, it was already too late. It seemed like Cool Skeleton knew, okay, I'm doing this, I can bait you into thinking this, and now all of a sudden I have the ledge to my ability, because you're moving in closer to have to jump to use that spinning top closer on those top sides. I can use that bike to get over you, and then I have the ledge advantage. And that's what we saw a couple of times actually, and that was something that was really well done there by Cool Skeleton. So good on you, man. And now you've leveled out the stocks at 6 apiece. St. Clair, we got a game, as you said earlier, Brendan.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're evened out now. It doesn't matter. Whatever happened in the first half doesn't matter. We're evened up now. It's a whole new game here. Now, the real question is, what does Fisher pull out here?
Well, you know what? It's very interesting. We can definitely tell that they are saving Leviathan for last, and you got to wonder maybe if you bring out Calm the Wolf, right? So it's going to be a very interesting way of dealing with it. We know that the Wolf worked well against the Wario last time we saw it, so you have to assume that you're just kind of leaving Leviathan as that Fisher final boss. And again, I really do want to see St. Clair get to him, just so we can see what he uses again. Just to remind you guys, a 0 suit Samus main, as far as we can check, but also has history on Joker and Sheik. And yeah, so again, I think that's my goal tonight for St. Clair's. I just want to see them get to Leviathan.
Who's your finisher? We just gotta see.
Yeah,
it.
we gotta see it. But at the same time, right now, that's not what you're focused on. You're focused on what you're going to do with this Wolf.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Wolf definitely coming in hot, right? His ego's inflated, you know, coming out there basically clowning on St. Clair in the first game.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, that could also, like I said earlier, we see kind of like Fisher making these mistakes, taking the foot off the gas pedal here. We could have it, like all of a sudden, from an easy game 1, you're all of a sudden in game 3, and everything's on the line.
Yeah, absolutely, and only time will tell. What I can say, though, is let me just think about how this will work out real quick. Something that the Wolf is so good at is closing distance fast, and there it is. So
there it is.
What you have to watch out for right now, for if you're the Wario, obviously that range advantage, right? Because Wolf has that energy blast that he can use to create distance from you. And even when you close the gap, then the Wolf is just so fast. What the Wario needs to watch out for is when he tries to throw that bike, it's going to create a little bit of a gap where the Wolf can then close the distance, much like how he was able to do with Young Link when we saw the boomerang come out. So if that was, you know, if there's anything to this matchup, that's one of the key points I would take away from what I'd watch out for.
There's the bike.
But at the same time, used for a good reason. It's just necessarily if we're seeing him start to throw those, as there you go. The distance gets closed, but it seems like the Wario has done a good job of adjusting to it this time.
As he gets the bite off. 100 damage, you know, at the beginning there it looked like similar to what we saw last game, but able Skeleton able to recover here and got a lot of chip damage here and get combos here, especially in the air.
Huge.
And there it is. Good start, like we said. Fantastic. Oh, well, it evens up, but
That's okay. We're
That's
all
fine.
even.
We're all
anyways.
even again.
That's how it goes. It's just back and forth. So we'll have to see. It's a decent combo right now, though, from Wario that went down. Dodges the blast from the gun and just trying to bait out the first attack from the Wolf. But there it is, keeping that range. That's going to be huge for just percentage building. But as we get close to the ledge, the Wolf has to watch out for that bite as well from the Wario and just needs to try to bait out that bike to then close the gap as he lands. Maybe even using it against the Wario as well. Sometimes
You think that bike's
your
covered
friend
him?
is your worst enemy, and right now, Wario, seeing the fruits of that labor, is now Cool Skeleton on 95%. This second stock has definitely been more useful to the Wolf.
absolutely. You think Wario is insured?
Well, you know, you gotta hope so, but judging by what happened to the bike, I don't think Wario necessarily cares how much it costs. His bike is just gone, totaled. Very much like how he's going to be in a second from the second stock. I have no clue how he's even up still, but it won't take very much longer to figure out as the Wario now down to 1. Cool Skeleton has done pretty decent here, but now with his back against the ropes, needs to figure out how to drain this second stock from this Wolf player. And this is somewhere where St. Clair, we've seen them struggle, and already you can see the percentage is only down by 10 right now. This Wolf player has almost gotten that second stock used completely for free, as now we see, there it is, has a stock pretty much for free used out in differential from percentage from the Wario.
Looks like Fox has kind of learned how Skeleton wanted to approach that, learned quickly, able to quickly adjust. But we still have a game. Only 2 stocks behind. Bad matchup at the beginning. But let's see if Alex can come in clutch here.
Well, you know what? Neon has to be the man for the job as St. Clair, they're down to their final 3 potentially in the NECC season. But, man, I have to say, if it's one word to give to this Wolf player on Fisher, who we're assuming is calm, it's composure.
Oh, absolutely.
Composure, as some would say, is the man has been absolutely undefeatable in these even stock battles. He always is able to reserve one and definitely has a lot more discipline when it comes to baiting out attacks from St. Clair that give him windows to sneak in close.
Absolutely, yeah. Fox is he's able to adjust. He's able even though he was able technically the Warrior player got the first stock, but then instantly came down, evened it up just like that in a second, right? And then able to adjust to where it became his game and not Wario's.
Yeah, I think that's something that was on full display. It's just a shame we saw that getting out of the ledge. You know the Wario has to use the bike, and twice in a row, as we saw in the replay, it ended up biting the Wario from behind. It was just not the right play to do, and it's sad because it's the only thing he can do, really. His recovery isn't necessarily the best. So again, the Wolf was able to bait it out twice, and, well, worked out in his favor, as that was really kind of the way to drain the last 2 there. But St. Clair, backs against the ropes now. Neon, the final boss for St. Clair, as he's not yet able to see who the final boss for Fisher is. We have a great idea of who it is. But first, you have to get through 2 stocks of the Wolf, and I'm going to be very honest here. I could totally see that Wolf player. I could totally see Calm being able to finish this one right here, done and dusted, if Neon doesn't keep a cool head as the Robin.
Absolutely here. This is going to be a make or break for St. Clair in their season here. Let's hope it starts off strong.
Yeah. Again, let's get underway. These could be potentially the final 3 stocks we see from St. Clair's Smash team in NECC. But let's see if they're going to finish. They might as well finish strong. You might as well try to see if you can just even get to see the 4th player for Fisher.
He must be chilling in the back there, just with his drinks, like, hey. I didn't have to play.
That's it, right? I mean, that's the other problem is, even if you do face that opponent, you're facing someone with fresh hands.
Yeah. And even Fox able to even it out right off the bat there. Not a great start. Not a start that Neon want.
Yeah, you know what? The Wolf is doing a great job of just keeping calm under pressure, but right now the Robin is able to just find some combos, just a little too high, but now the ledge guard comes through. It was almost very fatal there for the Robin. A little bit of a mishap in recovery, though. Will be able to get the Wolf player and Calm down to his last stock of this fight. But before doing so, it would be quite amazing for Fisher if they could just get Neon down to his final, as they're looking to do so right now. The range battle's quite decent because the Robin, you know, needs to get in a little bit closer if he wants to use that book for the fire, but right now, you see Neon starting to take control. Needs to watch out for that ledge positioning, though. The Fox so good, or the Wolf so good at ledge guarding in past matchups. Dodging upwards as now Neon starts to hit up a combo, but needs to watch out for the health as well. St. Clair, they've had a couple of these where they're at like 93, 95, 102, and they just get sent off of one hit. It's very unfortunate, but it's been a tale of the tape nonetheless.
Absolutely. We're actually seeing a lot. Hopefully, can Neon pull some magic? You know, 2 of his teammates has already pulled out some magic early in this game. Can he pull off? Can he pull it off? Can he at least get this Fox out of here? Oh.
You know what? It's very tough. We see these big hits coming through, but nothing able to land just yet, and it's just rough to watch, man. 126. You got to deal with this Fox, and now this is where Calm gets into his playing field. Is when he's actually on death's door. He usually locks in and starts finding percentage for free. We see he hasn't even gotten hit yet. Still able to get Neon up to 93 now. Trying to close the distance. Look at how he's just waiting, just baiting Neon to come in close.
The range.
And he's just able to keep range, farm percentage. Finally, some hits go through. But is it almost too late to call? No, it's
We're
not.
done.
Neon finishes it off, but has a lot of work to do here as the Wolf able to get down to Alex's last potential stock. But we will be able to see who Fisher's 4th is.
Absolutely. St. Clair on the deathbed. You know, 1 life left, 3 on the side of Fisher, match point. What's St. Clair? What's their line?
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. There's not a lot here that St. Clair can hope for. I just saw at least a little bit of a sneak peek as we saw the swap in happen. I believe I saw a Pikachu icon. So
no.
I think it is going to be confirmed that Leviathan is that 4th, or sorry, not that 4th player. Because that was actually one of DM's mains, so we actually don't know who this is. It could be Leviathan, but at the same time, we don't really have much info on Leviathan playing Pikachu. Could Leviathan have been the player playing that Pyra Mithra? I don't necessarily think so, because there's not really a point of using your best player first. I would imagine you want to save it for last. So I'm going to assume Leviathan's most likely on the Pikachu here, and you know, it would still make sense for someone to play Pikachu, because if you were looking at the lineup earlier, I'm wondering where Moth Eyes was tonight, because you would have thought with the Rob being able to get countered by the Sora, that would have been someone good to have on your lineup tonight, but it seems that that's definitely not the way St. Clair wanted to go about it. At the same time, they might kind of be regretting that, because looking at this now, you know, yeah, you would have had the Sora in for the Rob, but would it have all mattered because you have the Joker being brought in? You would have had the Pikachu anyway, so
I don't think it would have mattered. At least matchup-wise, I don't think it would have changed too much.
Yeah, don't think we would have seen it really come into fruition, just based on like what the lineup was.
The only thing that wouldn't have happened, like Matthias, he's a crazy player, right? Sometimes, you know, he might just lose a stock just for a style. Remember that other stream the other day? It was just like, he was like, oh, I actually messed up the tech and I fell to my death, but at least I got one.
Yeah, he did that twice, by the way. I was sitting down. I was talking with him and Commanda. Shout out ex Saints Gaming staff, Commanda, and I think that it was just kind of, we were just having a laugh, because it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, you know what? If I'm gonna go out, I might as well go out of style. No, I didn't actually mean to do that. I'm not gonna lie. I just definitely
Daniil
messed
was
up the tech.
freaking out.
Yeah, I remember that. That was quite funny. But no, we're not gonna have any of that tonight. But what we are gonna have is St. Clair's last and final stock. It's either put up or shut up an NECC, and even if
the
Neon is able
peach
to do so and escape here. Oh, actually, wow, this is calm.
It is calm.
So it is calm. Okay, so the Wolf actually wasn't calm the entire time. That's nice to see, as we haven't find some percentage. And
that's
it.
it.
It was over pretty much as quick as it started.
The peach, and it's done.
Yeah, you know
All
what?
right.
We had something there that Calm played Peach in the past, but again,
Alex has the same.
we just assumed that you would save Leviathan for last. We were wondering maybe you just have Calm playing into the Wolf. So. No, you know what? If it is something we got wrong tonight, Brendan,
okay,
it
so
was that. But
so
to be fair to us, we didn't have names visible. Obviously, it just said vibes, so we had to go off.
So
of based
Patrick,
off of
so
logic.
that peach matchup there. What do you think is the play?
Yeah,
the
we got a
game side.
We got a lot to break down there on that matchup. We got to see so much. We were really into the game just as it got started. Definitely weren't late to it, and definitely saw a lot of that Peach gameplay. No, literally that was
a warm up, right?
quickest.
It was clearly a warm up game.
That had to be. They were just testing the server,
yeah,
right,
come on,
guys?
they're just like, oh, the frames were not,
They're just testing the server. They're gonna get back into it. No, that is actually it. So Fisher are victorious. They take the series in 2-0 fashion.
Move on.
They move on in the NECC playoffs. And if I had to really wrap all of this into a statement, it was simply that St. Clair did not have the composure advantage. Fisher, I think, experience showed here, especially when learning when to play more patient and waiting on St. Clair's ruthless aggression to kind of kick them from the butt.
Absolutely. Like, if we want to talk about the season overall, it's the first season as a full team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have growing pains, players, how they play, the matchup, and then adjusting to systems and play styles and all that. I wouldn't say it's a failure. You come in the 7th seed, go out. You weren't the winner. You weren't the favorites for this matchup, right? Which I don't want to say is an excuse, but things happen. Some better teams usually win. But like we saw, one thing they're probably going to address over the break here is seeing where they have games kind of like in their hand, or at least spots to really put them in the driver's seat for that match. They kind of go away. Or just unfortunate circumstance, like things happen. Like we said, how many times we saw like a character take off 3 stocks at 1 or 2 or a better matchup. It's just we saw that same mistake happen over and over again. And then we saw in the second game, we saw them come back there. We saw a whole different style, like a whole different type of play style face of St. Clair there. But and that's something positive to build on for next season.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. Something that St. Clair, in my opinion, has to work on is just realizing that, you can take your time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to rush everything. We saw that used against the Wolf, kind of that rush tactic, especially, I don't want to kind of harp on it all day and night here, but no skill against that Wolf was really a prime showing of that. Someone who sort of started to get a little bit carried away when he had the finish line in sight and just lost all composure. Same thing when going up against the Pyramithra. It was sort of that same thing where, again, no skill would sort of get something started but wouldn't be able to finish the job, as we saw 2 stocks being drained without even getting the Pyre even getting hit. So, again, something that I think that's definitely something that I think no skill has to work on, but also some of the other players as well. We saw Neon losing 2 stocks really for all fault of none to trying to finish out the series. We saw Cool Skeleton also do some of the same. And again, same thing happened with the Bowser Jr. versus the Rob the first time around. So I think that, that has to be the overarching message in the end, is just a little more patience, and you will be able to get there.
Absolutely.
Something I think that I also see is that the people who they play, the lineups that they choose, it's not very diverse. There's a lot of sort of one-sided play styles to the point where it's kind of just play to the counter of necessarily range or space creation, and then all of a sudden that is just what is St. Clair's undoing. Now, that could just be from an understanding of the game. These are some, insanely good players that Fisher has, as they are the number 2 seed. So it could just be better understanding of those topics. But at the same time, I think it is definitely something that you are more than fair to talk about, as, they just played each other. So you need to just simply break down how it is. I believe we have an interview soon to come, but until then, which I'm now hearing is now, we are going to predict who it is, and I believe, we hear it right now. It is Cool Skeleton. So Ricky and Cool Skeleton down in the pit. How's it going, guys?
What's going on, gentlemen? I'm joined by, like you said, Cool Skeleton here in the pit. welcome, and obviously not the outcome we wanted as a St. Clair fan, but still a great showing from our boy Cool Skeleton here on the Wario. Take me over how it felt to come away with that 3 stocks to 1, I believe it was?
Yep. It felt pretty good. I think after the first game, I really kind of understood what that Rob was doing, so I was able to just like kind of read what he was up to, and I was able to take the 3 stock. It felt pretty good though.
Yeah, definitely. You could feel the hype change when that happened in the Nexus. Everyone was screaming. It was a great moment within this series. But I want to ask you, how, looking back on this series, do you feel like you guys have grown as a team? Like, what have you guys changed about how you approach the game initially, leading up to playoffs, obviously?
I think we've like grown a lot as a team after all these matches. You know, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and I think at the end of the day, like we just, I don't know, we grew as a team. We were able to just kind of learn what these players were doing more and more. It's kind of hard with like how many players we're versing, and like we don't really have a lot of time to adapt to what they're doing. So
Yeah.
but I think fundamentally we've improved as a team.
I was going to say
overall.
that sounds amazing. And if I have a question real quick for you, Cool Skeleton, you know, I think that what I saw when you were facing the Rob, something that was being used, especially in the opener against Bowser Jr., was using the spinning top to create distance to get that sort of space to control the ledge. That was something you noticed, and I noticed that you used those 2 higher platforms in the stadium to kind of stop that from happening, so you couldn't necessarily get pushed around or trapped in the middle, and that gave you the control of that ledge guard, right?
Yeah.
With that bike, I gotta ask right now, right? Was that kind of the main tactic, was use those top platforms, avoid those spinning tops to create distance, and then control the flow of the ledge guard from there?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like using the 2 platforms as Wario is really good to just get around my opponents, and it's a really helped avoid gyro. So it helped me in the matchup overall, I'd say, and because the gyro's Rob's like main tool really to just keep you out and keep you away from him.
Yeah. I have one more thing to ask before I open the floor up to either you, Brendan, or Ricky as well to ask another question. I just want to know, based off of what we've seen here tonight, I think that it does go without saying that this team sometimes gets a little mentally in their own heads if they're down in stocks. I've seen stocks kind of wither away sometimes without really any real value being found out. Mentally, in the Smash arena, when you do see that stuff happening as a team, what ways are you guys sort of trying to get out of that, if you can give me any insight?
I think just being calm overall just helps dealing with like any unexpected moments in game. Like overall, it's just, I don't know, I think just staying calm and realizing our mistakes, realizing their mistakes is just talking about it is just the best way to stay calm, you know, support each other as a team as well. Just, yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have anything to say?
Oh no, you had all the questions I had as well. So
I was going to say, so I guess we'll just end it off there. So, I mean, that's all from us right now. Ricky, off to you and for your last wrap-ups.
Yeah, so I want to thank you for joining us on this interview, Cool Skeleton, and thank you to the St. Clair Smash team for putting on a good show. Unfortunately, not the outcome we really wanted, but at the end of the day, you know, you can't always win, right?
Yeah.
Moving forward, before we send it off, I just want to ask quickly, what does the future look like for the St. Clair Smash team?
I don't really know how to answer this question. This is more for Alex.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Anyways, this has been the St. Clair broadcast. I've been your host, Ricky LaFleur, joined by my fellow casters, Mr. Patrick Smoke Chambers and Mr. Brendan. And we have been blessed with another great stream, another Saint Smash stream. I want to shout out our sponsors here at St. Clair, the Student Representative Council, as well as Tim Hortons, Subway, Alienware, and the Alumni Association. And without further ado, this has been Ricky LaFleur and signing off from the St. Clair Pit and at the Nexus. Cool Skeleton, anything to send it off?
Have a good night, everyone.
And go Saints. game.